Strong evidence for advanced life on Mars. Hey, everybody, I'm Rex Bear. How the heck are you? Beautiful day today here in Southern Colorado. Let's just jump right in. You may want to buckle up for this one because it's going to get bumpy. I'm going to share with you some incredible data sets that suggest there has been and is advanced civilizations or an advanced civilization on Mars. Here we go. A podcast I put together a few years ago about a declassified file that the CIA had released in the 80s. The government and the CIA was working closely with different satellite agencies, different satellite offices, I should say, that were expanding consciousness, working on ways to remote view, as an example, psychic spying, like the Stargate project. It's the Stargate project. Well, in these different projects, one case that involved remote viewing Mars, I am pleasantly surprised how well this little device works that I got from don'twastepower.com. Now, you've probably heard me talk about it. I've had it now for about 5 months, and it's still saving me money. And it's about the size of a garage door opener. I've literally got mine plugged in next to the breaker box. And if you get one, that's what you do. You plug it in right next to your breaker box, and the green light turns on, and you start saving money. What it does is it cuts down on dirty electricity, and it helps save your electronics and appliances from dirty electricity also. Get up to 60-something% off and free shipping. And I've read through some of the comments where people were skeptical at first. They got one. They're saving money. The electrical companies are making tons of money. Maybe you can save a little bit of that and put it back in your own pocket and be green at the same time. All right. Have a beautiful day. Let's get back to this podcast. Thanks for watching. You're awesome. Go to don'twastepower.com. I heard flattery will get you everywhere. A specific location, several specific locations, and I'm going to show you what the coordinates are. We're going to look at the coordinates. And so if you want to find those on the map, I haven't been able to convert those yet into a way to go to Google Mars and find the exact location. So maybe you can help me with this. We'll update it on the next podcast, but I'm going to leave these coordinates in the video description box. And we're also going to look at the original satellite imagery and the data sets from the 1976 Viking Orbiter flyby of Mars. Those are some of the best images available of the Cydonia region. Then in the late 90s, there was another flyby, and the photos that you can see from the 90s of that region, especially with the face, well, let's just say it's a little bit different. It's definitely a little bit different. So I want to get your take on this, but it appears that one of the locations, it reminds me of the five-sided pyramid that you can see in these Viking Orbiter shots. But another thing that's fascinating is if you've ever seen the film Total Recall, came out in 1990, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he works as a secret agent, and then when he recovers his memories, he remembers he was working on Mars. And on Mars, there's this million-year-old pyramid that's off limits because the guy that runs Mars sells air to the people so that they can live. And this pyramid at the very end, when Arnold pushes down that button, it creates an atmosphere on Mars that makes it habitable and also completely obliterates the control mechanism that the powers that be had selling air to the people, and they had to slave for air. Well, now Mars is very much like Earth, being habitable after Arnold gets up to the top and pushes this button. Well, I was remembering that moment because the recent interview I did with Dr. Richard Allen Miller, he had a very similar project where he didn't remote view Mars, but he did this specific geometry, creating a particular wormhole that allowed his consciousness somehow to see Mars. And when I asked him what it looked like, he described these beings that were aquatic and they had 3 fingers. And then it made me think about the button that has like these 3 fingers at the top of the pyramid in Total Recall. So if you're still with me here, and I hope you are, because this is where it gets even more fascinating. And we're going to look at the actual files. We're going to look at the data sets. We're going to look at the files, the images, the coordinates, all of that here in just a minute. It describes beings, it describes structures, and it's very similar to Total Recall. So let's just jump right into this. Let's go. Let's do the screen share here. A pretty high resolution image from the Viking Orbiter. You can see up here on the top left, here's what appears to be a face, and it almost has like a headdress. You scroll down a little bit, you can see the five-sided pyramid right here. There's actually 5 sides to this pyramid. There's 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's some other, what appears to be possible pyramids down here. This image in specific is the small part of the Cydonia region taken by the Viking 1 orbiter. It was released July 25th, 1976 by NASA and JPL. Notice the name Cydonia. It reminds me of Sedona. This was taken in 2006 from the European Space Agency's satellite Mars Express. And the face of Mars right here, it does appear to have more detail. Here's the later images from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the high-rise camera of the face of Mars in 2007. Oh, it's 2007, okay. Then you can see the one from 2001 here, the Mars Global Surveyor on the right. Let's take a look at this. You know, looking at that detail, that looks like a face to me. That looks like there's a headdress. I can see the eyes. I can see the nose. I can see the mouth. If this structure is thousands of years old, tens of thousands of years old, possibly 1 million years old, if that's the case, imagine the weathering that would take place, and a shadow with a specific angle would allow for you to see the outline of that original effigy. This monument, this massive monument and effigy of clearly a prominent figure. And I question, could that be? Well, it makes me think of several beings particularly, or gods, or some refer to as Anunnaki. I could be way off here, but I'm thinking of Anu, Enki. I don't really see it being Enki, though, because Enki is more associated with water planets. I'm thinking, these are just thoughts that are going through my mind here, and I want to read yours in the comment section. Nimrod, Nidamud, Nudamud, Nephi, Nephilim, Node. There's this Nephilim. I'm just getting this. That's what's coming through my head here. But anyway, really cool, right? So this is fascinating. We're looking at the comparison of the two. And then we take this to the next step, and there's a place in Egypt called Cairo. Cairo. The official name is Al-Kaira. It literally means place or camp of Mars, in reference to the fact that the planet was rising at the time of the city's foundation, as well as the vanquisher, the conqueror, the victorious, or the strong, Al-Qaria, in reference to the much-awaited Caliph Al-Mu. So Cairo literally means place or camp of Mars. Now, in the Book of Enoch, when it talks about what it refers to as angels that fall to earth, they fall in love with women of earth. They make a pact with each other and say, hey, there's going to be consequences, but we're willing to accept those consequences. I think they came from Mars. Or at least they were at Mars before they came here. And once again, this is pure theory. They would have technologies. They would have certain arts and sciences and skills, possibly, if their civilization was following a different path of evolution, technologically speaking. amongst various other aspects. That would be one way to look. That's what I see. That's what I sense. I don't look at these people as, I don't look at them as what they're referred to. Actually, quite the opposite in some ways. But I need to read it again. And just because a specific book describes it as such doesn't make it true. That's a perception that is probably much older and been passed on for many generations through the lens of humans and possibly some divine intervention there. But I would say it's a combination of the two. So it's quite fascinating. There's also a lot of code embedded in the Book of Enoch that is only available for those that either study in depth or have been initiated into certain degrees in certain orders. So Cairo is literally Camp of Mars. Here is the actual documentation of the Mars exploration. This is available in the reading room, declassified now. This is from 1984. Once again, we're going back to that 1984. This is May 22nd, 1984. It is available now. I'll leave the link in the video description box. And let's just read it. It describes a million-year-old structure and several structures and beings that are very tall. And this is highly advanced. And it sounds very similar to some of the pyramids here, as well as the pyramids that are seen, or what appears to be pyramids on Mars. And the coordinates are in here also. So let's get started, shall we? The method of site acquisition. Sealed envelope coupled with geographic coordinates. The sealed envelope was given to the subject immediately prior to the interview. The envelope was not opened until after the interview. In the envelope was a 3x5 card with the following information: the planet Mars. The time of interest, approximately 1 million years BC. Selected geographic coordinates provided by the parties requesting the information were verbally given to the subject during the interview. Plus 10 minutes, ready to start. All right, now using the information in the envelope, I've provided exclusively focusing your attention now. Using the information in the envelope, focus on 40.89 degrees north, 9.55 degrees west. Now, where it shows here MON, that is the person giving the coordinates, giving the instructions, and then the SUB, the sub, that is the subject. Hello, here we go. So the coordinates are given, and then the subject says, I want to say, it looks like, I don't know, it sort of looks, I kind of got an oblique view of a pyramid or pyramid form. It's very high. It's kind of sitting in a large depressed area. All right. It's yellowish, ochre colored. All right. Move in time to the time indicated in the envelope. I provided you and describe what's happening. I'm tracking severe clouds, more like dust storm. It's geological problem. Seems to be like, just a minute. I've got to iron this out. It's really weird. Just report your raw perceptions at this time. You're still early in the session. I'm looking at after effect of a major geological problem. Okay, go back to the time before the geological problem. Total difference. It's before there's no I don't know. Oh hell, it's like mountains of dirt appear and then disappear when you go before. See large flat surfaces, very smooth angles, walls. They're really large though. I mean, they're megalithic. All right. At this period in time now, before the geological activity, look around in and around this area and see if you can find any activity. I'm seeing it's like a perception of a shadow of people, very tall, thin. It's only a shadow. It's as if they were there and they're not there anymore. Go back to a period of time where they are there. It's like I get a lot of static on a line and everything. It's breaking up all the time. It's very fragmentary pieces. Just report the raw data. Don't try to put things together. Just report the raw data. I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall, but they're very tall, wearing some kind of strange clothes. All right, now holding in this time period, I want you to move from physical location in space to another physical location, but in this time period, move now to 46.45 north, 353.22 east. Move in this time to 46.45 north, 353.22 east. Deep inside of a cavern, not a cavern, more like canyon. I'm looking up the sides of a steep wall that seemed to go on forever. And there's like a structure with, it's like the wall of the canyon itself has been carved. Again, I'm getting a very large structures, no intricacies, huge selections or huge sections of smooth stone. Do the structures have insides and outsides? Yes, it's like a rabbit warren corners of rooms. They're really huge. I don't feel like I'm standing in one. It's just really huge. Perception is that the ceiling is very high. The walls are very wide. Real time plus 22 minutes. Yes, that would be correct. All right, I'd like to move now to another location nearby. All right, move from this point in time to 45.86 north, 354.1 east. 45.86 north, 354.1 east. They have appears to be the end of a very large road. There's a marker thing that's very large. It keeps getting Washington Monument overlay. It's like an obelisk or an obelisk. All right. From this point, then, let us move to another point. Move now to 35.26 north, 213.24 east. Move in this time to 35.26 north, 213.24 east. It's like I'm in the middle of a huge circular basin of the range, mountains by almost all the way around. Very ragged mountains, very tall. The basin's very, very, very large. The scale seems to be off or something. It's just really big. Everything's big. I understand the problem. Just continue. See, just a right angle corner to something, but that's all. I don't see anything else. Okay, then let's move into a little different place. Very close. Move from the point you are now in this time to 34.6 north, 213.09 east. Move now in this time to 34.6 north, 213.09 east. The cluster of squares up and down. It's like you want to make them square anyway. They're almost flush with the ground, and it's like they're connected. Something's very white or reflects light. What's your position of observation as you look at this thing that reflects light? I'm amid a oblique left angle. The sun is weird. Look back down at the ground now, and we're going to move just a little bit from this place, just a little bit from this place, 34.57 north, 212.22 east. Very close by. Now move over now to 34.57 north, 212.22 east. It's like I can just perceive a radiating pattern of some kind. It's like some really strange intersecting kind of roads that are dug into valleys, where road is just a little below the edge. Tell me about the shapes of these things. They're like real neat channels cut. They're very deep. It's like the road went down. Okay, now I notice electrically you're nulled out a little bit, and I want you to stay deep and recapture your focus here. It's really tough. It seems like it's just always very sporadic. I realize that. It's very important that you maintain your focus. I have a movement exercise again for you, and this is some considerable distance away. So holding the focus in time. Remember the focus in time that you had before, and moving now to 15 degrees north, 198 degrees east. Take some time and get back deep. See the intersecting, whatever these are aqueduct type things. These rounded bottom carved channels like roadbeds. See pointed tops of something on the horizon. Even the horizon looks funny and weird. It's like different, misty, like it's really far away, very vague. Okay, another movement now to 80 degrees south, 80 degrees south, 60 to 64 degrees east, 64 degrees east. Move now in this time to 80 degrees south, 64 degrees east. See pyramids. Can't tell if it's overlay or not because they're different. Okay, do these pyramids have insides and outsides? Got both. And they're huge. It's really it's an interesting perception I'm getting. I think that he's losing his ability to move accurately, but if he is attracted to things that are interesting, so we're going to go with his own. We're going to let him go ahead and explore what seems to be interesting to him rather than move on the targets indicated here. It's filtered from storms or something. Say that again. They're like shelters from storms. These structures you're seeing, yes, they're designed for that. All right, go inside one. Go inside one of these and find some activity to tell me about. Plus 37 minutes real time. Different chambers, but they're almost stripped of any kind of furnishings or anything. It's like a strictly functional place for sleeping, or that's not a good word. Hibernations, some form. I get real raw input. Storms, savage storm, and sleeping through storms. Tell me about the ones who sleep through the storms. Very tall. Again, very large people, but they're thin. They look thin because their height, and they dress like it's like a real light silk, but it's not flowing type of clothing. It's like cut to fit. Move close to one of them and ask them to tell you about themselves. They're ancient people. They're dying. It's past their time of age, or it's past their time or age. Tell me about this. They're very philosophic about it. They're looking for a way to survive, and they just can't. Plus 40 minutes. Definite voltage reversal. Can't seem to get their way out. They can't seem to find their way out. So they're hanging on while they look or wait for something to return or something coming with the answer. What is it they're waiting for? They're evidently a group or a party of them that went to find a new place to live. It's like I'm getting all kinds of overwhelming input of the corruption of their environment. It's failing very rapidly, and this group went somewhere like a long way to find another place to live. What was the cause of the atmospheric disturbance or the environment disturbance? I see a picture of like, oh hell, it's almost a warp in a, oh God, this is difficult. It's like going, let's see, the raw data. Oh, I get a globe. It's like a globe that goes through a comet's tail, or it's through a river or something, but it's all very cosmic. It's like space pictures. All right, now before you leave this individual, ask him if there is any way that you ask him if he knows who you are, and is there any way you can help him in his present predicament. All I get is that they must just wait. Doesn't know who I am. Think he perceives I'm a hallucination or something. Okay, when the others left, these people are waiting. When the others left, how did they go? I get an impression of don't know what the hell it is. It looks like the inside of a larger boat, very rounded walls and shiny metal. We'll go along with them on their journey and find out where it is they go. The impression of a really crazy place with volcanoes and gas pockets and strange plants, very volatile place. It's very much like going from the frying pan into the fire. Difference is there seems to be a lot of vegetation, where the other places did not have it, and different kinds of storm. All right, it's time to come back now to the sound of my voice in a present time to right now, the 22nd of May, 1984. Sound of my voice, move now back to the room, back to the sound of my voice, back further now, the sound of my voice on the 22nd of May, 1984. End of interview. Whoa. Whoa, I'm getting goosebumps right now. You've heard my theories before if you watched Leak Project about the Book of Enoch and those described that come down to Earth. Told you I think they come from Mars. I've also told you that it was either Venus or some type of major planetary body, or because Venus actually was projected in Velikovsky's work to be moving like a comet thousands of years ago. And some of these timelines will get close to certain scriptures and biblical events and other mythological events that took place. BC. Something took place much more recent, though, than 1 million years ago on Mars. What they're seeing that took place 1 million years ago on Mars, I mean, that blows my mind. I mean, think about that. And there's people out there right now in hibernation chambers, which we've also talked about. If you're an advanced space colonizing civilization, you're going to have the ability to hibernate. You're going to have the ability to change DNA. Haim Eshed, one of the top aeronautic engineers and Space Force defense personnel with Israel, he came out several years ago and said, yes, we're working with people on Mars that are highly advanced and they're not ready to make themselves known yet. This remote viewing takes place in 1984. In 1990, Total Recall comes out where Arnold pushes the button on the pyramid that creates an atmosphere again. Is there a pyramid on Mars that could potentially do that? And is the reason we want to get back to Mars, or is the reason Elon wants to get back to Mars, possibly, consciously or subconsciously, is there some... Because first of all, there's all this talk about colonizing other planets, right? Because, well, why not protect Earth first? If we're worrying about having to find other planets because we're worried about the Earth dying, well, how about we figure out a way to protect the Earth and extend her life as long as possible and make it as amazing as possible for all of us versus having to colonize other planets? Or maybe it's all of the above. Why not do all of the above? Because I'm all for colonizing other planets. I have a strong connection with Mars, much stronger than most. Like Moab is one of my favorite places in the world. Hello? 110 degrees, I'm okay with it. Seriously, no big deal for me. That's a side note. But it appears that a lot of the pieces that we've been putting together here on Leak Project link up to this remote viewing session. And this is 40-something years ago. So if we haven't already, and then I loved how it said, ask if there's any way that we can help. Well, what do you bet some of them left a long time ago and colonized other planets? And maybe for whatever reason, they didn't get back to those that were hibernating because of other interests or conflicts. This is so incredible. So you can see right here, Cairo's official name is Al-Qaira, which literally means place or camp of Mars. This is from the CIA.gov reading room, declassified documents on this mission to Mars via MIND, this Mars exploration remote viewing session. This was done May 22nd, 1984, as you can see right there, right? Then, Total Recall comes out in 1990. Haim Eshed, the professor of aeronautics and astronautics at various space technology research institutions, the retired general in Israeli military intelligence, the director of space programs for the Israel Ministry of Defense for nearly 30 years, former chair of the Space Committee of the National Council for Research and Development for the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Space, a member of the Steering Committee of Israel's Space Agency. Eshed is responsible for the launch of 20 Israeli-made satellites and is widely cited as the father of Israel's space program. Yeah. And in 2020, he came out and said, UFOs are real, and we're working with people on Mars underground, and they're not ready to make themselves known yet. And somebody of this stature comes out and says it, and even he will be labeled a UFO conspiracy theorist. It says right here, promoting a UFO conspiracy theory. Claiming that the world governments were secretly working with aliens. Well, he's not the only one. How about Dr. Richard Allen Miller, the guy that I was talking about earlier? He's been on the program many times. And if you want to watch the archives, go to leakproject.com. We've got like 9 videos in the archives there at leakproject.com and several recent ones in full on our Patreon page. He is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he described the beings on Mars to have like 3 fingers, and just like in Total Recall. So I said, did you see Total Recall? And he laughed. This is the city that was captured, the face, the cliff, the Tholos, the DNM pyramid, the 5-sided pyramid. And this is from the Viking Orbiter, 1976. There's an image of the face. You can see right here. The original face of Mars taken. And then through time, you can see how the outline and the details look a little bit different. Still looks like a face in all those images to me. You're going to be able to pick it up a lot better, though, in the shadows from what the outline looked at many years ago. These are the coordinates. Please get back to me with these coordinates. You can find them on Google Mars or a specific NASA platform. You can get these specific. We can get some screenshots. The best details would be appreciated. I'd really like to see back from you. It looks like this guy did some work on high rise, but he's not showing us what it looks like. So thanks, Shrimp Whiskers. He says he's skeptical, but he said, I'll play along. And I read about this on Reddit. Leave your comments in the comment section. Hit that bell for all notifications. Have a beautiful day. Be excellent to each other. Be the change you want to see. Be well.